In this video, I'm going to explain the difference between various kanji representations of a single word. A few videos ago, I mentioned that I would make a blog post about this, and I did! It's on my blog! There's like a long explanation and then a hyperlink to short explanations. But for the, illiterate, unwashed masses, here's a video form that you can listen to where I explain the different meanings, the different implications behind various kanji that are used to write a single word. Before I do though, I should have the caveat that all of these are technical or official uses that you find in guides, etc. They don't necessarily reflect what Japanese people do in their day-to-day lives. A lot of Japanese people don't know about the differences I'm going to talk about in these videos, and their understandings of the difference are more vibe-based than official-based. There are no actual rules, so you will see a lot of uses that differ from what I tell you in this video. That doesn't mean I'm wrong. How dare you for even thinking that? But rather just reflects the real-world case that what's in guides, dictionaries, etc. doesn't always reflect what people are actually doing in their day-to-day. So the number one way to understand the meaning of a word in any sentences is always context, etc. But that said, I'm going to go through absolutely does influence the use of script throughout Japan and throughout its history, so hopefully it'll be of some use to you as you read Japanese. While I'm sure this list isn't exhaustive, it is quite long, so let's get into it. Let's start with Toru, which means to take. There are a number of variants for this, and this one here is like the generic one. A lot of these words are going to have like a generic kanji for them that can be used in about any context, and this works for Toru. In contrast though, if you use this one, it means that you are taking a photo or a video. That is why it appears in words like satsue, which also means to take, photos or videos. A similar version then is this one here, which means when you record something, especially audio, and that's why you see it in words like rokuon or like rokuga. As I mentioned in the other video, looking up kanji compounds that use the kanji used for a verb can often give you hints as to how it's used. That said, this really isn't used very much for like recording video, even though you can. Its primary use is when you take sound and put it on something, I guess. For instance, a quick Google search shows just over 4,000 hits for take a movie using this kanji, with over 800,000 for the other one. This variant then is used when you capture something, as you can see here in this bird capturing prey. That said, this same variant can also be used when you catch something, as in a ball. I guess one way to think of it is if you go into extra effort to grab it, to get it, to take it, then you can use this kanji. This kanji overlaps somewhat though, as it is also used for to capture prey. Hence the kanji being used in the word emono, which is prey. Differentiating this bird from the other bird is kind of tricky, but if you're focusing on the hunting versus maybe the capturing, that might do it. Again, vibes based. You can also use this kanji though when you do something that feels like a great victory, such as winning a game or something like that, especially with awards. This variant is then very simple. It just means to steal, so if you take something without permission, this is the kanji for you. Hence, it's used to write the verb nusumu, which is where you will more likely see it. This one then means to take on a responsibility. So in this screenshot from Netflix, we can see it used to take leadership of a group, and then that's kind of how it's used. And then when you take something into your body, such as nutrition, you can use this one, which you can see in this sentence here, which says that when you take in necessary nutrients, there's no actual space for alcohol, but they're still going to have some alcohol. Then lastly, this one has two uses. The first is to pluck, to take something like a berry off of a tree, off of a bush, or to gather a beetle. And the second is to adopt something, not as like a human, but like a policy or a plan or a belief. As you can see here with setsu toru is into adopt a theory. Hence the use of this kanji in words like sayo. Again though, just to emphasize that you will see people using uses that don't align with what I said. Here's someone using toru to mean take a bug off a wig, and they're using the kanji for to take into your body, to digest, and I don't think they're eating this bug, right? It's just a mistake. They either have a different view of what these kanji mean, or they made a typo on their phone or whatever. You're gonna see tons of this. The important part, obviously, is that it means Toru, and from context, we can understand what that is. But I guess officially they're wrong, but, who's going to arrest them? All right, Toru is one of the big ones, but Ao has 4 representations. This is the generic. If you meet someone or something, use this. This one is then used when you meet something that is unexpected and often not desirable, such as a bear in the wilds. Whereas this one is used when you meet something unexpected, but kind of without necessarily the negative implications. Like fish in the ocean that you've maybe even gone looking for. This one is then used when the people go intentionally to meet each other, often for romantic reasons. It can often be the word tryst in English. So when this person says, I'll meet you at a bar, using this kanji, it means for, love, relationship, romantic purposes. All right, nomu's got 2 variants. This is the generic. You can use it for about anything. And this one means to swallow. So nomu can always have that meaning. Nomikomu is a good way to specify that you swallow. But hey, if you just want to say swallow via nomu, this is the preferred kanji for that. But while, say, a snake swallowing an egg is literal, it can also be metaphorical, as in swallowing your tears or swallowing a belief. And of course, don't forget that, you can swallow liquid, so while I guess this could be wrong, maybe it's not. All right, kiku can mean listen or ask, and it has a few kanji. This is the generic one that you probably already know. ear against the gate, right? Listening through the gate. Though, of course, don't forget that in Japanese, you're supposed to do questions, not ask them. This is kind of then divided into two because this one means the listen half. So if you're listening to something like music, you can use this, whereas this one is used when you inquire. So if you're asking something to somebody, this is the kanji that makes it specific that you're asking. Uta then has a ton. I even have a blog post that like went over 20 of these, but I'm going to keep this one simple. This is the generic one. This one is also sometimes seen as generic, but can be specifically used when you sing someone's praises. This is why it's used for the verb kumairu, which has the same meaning. You can see it used here to sing the praises of how good this cheese is. In contrast, this one here is used more in traditional songs. Hence it's used in words like kouta, nagauta, jiuta, or komori-uta. The post you're looking at is a great example because it uses this to reference yokyoku, which are songs done during no, like the plays, so it has that traditional link. Perhaps a bit redundantly though, this is used for singing that has like light or no musical accompaniment, which also means it's often used in no plays. Again, that's what you're seeing kind of here. And then this one is used when you kind of read poetry aloud. This kanji is also used for the verb yomu, which means to write poetry, which can be confusing. Yes, shio-yomu can be read or write poetry when spoken, but it can also mean to like sing in kind of an epic sense. Metal bands like using it for, metal reasons. Hakaru then means to measure, and this is one where the versions are actually really important because there is no like generic one, I guess. This one is used to calculate time, which makes sense because it's in the word toke, right? A clock or a watch. It can also be to calculate the future in a metaphorical sense. The phrase hakari shiranai has to use this one, it doesn't use the others. This one is used to calculate weight or volume. It means like amount normally, it's just a normal kanji, so that can help you remember it. And this one is used for like length, distance, height, depth, everything like that. Keep it away from weight, time, and volume, right? So because of this post is technically wrong. It should be using the weight one, right? Because it's talking about taiju, your weight. Or the animal's weight, I guess. But bizarrely, if you look on Google, there are actually more hits for this combination of hakaru and taiju than the correct one. Although if you look on alt.co.jp, they use the correct one more than this one, so I don't know. But this use here, where a dragonfly is measured a length by a stick, is a great use that I don't think anyone would find controversial. There are also 3 other hakaru verbs, but I would consider these distinct verbs. But just in case you see them, this one means like to plan or to scheme. This one is used kind of in the same way, but especially when it's like a conspiracy, hence its use in words like conspiracy. And this one is used quite rarely, but to mean consult. Alright, kaku just has 2 versions. This one means to write, as in to write something, but of course in Japanese, kaku can also mean to draw, so you can use this. The verb egaku specifically means drawing, but kaku can be used for writing and drawing, so if you need to specify it and you don't want to use egaku for some reason, kaku is here for you. Omo, or to think, then has this as the generic one. This is when you think like a thought, have an opinion. So for instance, if you write longest dialogue in an anime ever by hand, you might think you're going to die. Then this one though is used when you think with your heart is a good way to say it. It's like feelings. For instance, in this dictionary, you can see it described as like, this is when you think with your heart, and the other one's when you think with your brain. So here it's saying like, I'm thinking of you, but like in a romantic, in a heartfelt way. I actually haven't seen this used for negative emotions though, but I guess it could be, but just, as a personal note from my own experience. All right, kiru, to cut. This is the generic one. When you cut something, you can always use this and you're good to go. Or I guess if you can't cut something, like a croissant. This variant is then used when you cut something with a sword or a blade, often but not exclusively someone's like neck. As you can see from this anime, it can also be like a stump. This also has like a metaphorical use though, as in to state something confidently, like seiso kiru is like to cut through the world, to be like straight and upfront with things. The person uses it to say that the recent Superman movie, in positioning Superman as an immigrant, is cutting through like problems, discussions. It's a complimentary thing here. This variant then is used when you cut but like lumber, so like with an axe or like a saw. People here are using it to cut down bamboo. Note that this kanji is used in words like basai, which are specifically used for, again, cutting down lumber. Miru then has a lot. This is the generic. You can use it whenever you want. The eye is walking because you're walking around and looking at things. Like a rainbow. This one is used to mean watch, specifically like intently. That's why it's used in words like kankyaku, an audience, or kanko, sightseeing. So think of it as like watching with intent. If you're a doctor though, or if a doctor looks after you, use this one. So this is like to see, as in the doctor will see you now, checking for problems. Hence it's used in words like shindan or shinsatsu. This one then is used for like focusing on something. You see this in words like shiryoku, which is like your visual acumen, or shisatsu, which is like inspection. Why it's used here for looking at the sun, I'm not sure, but I guess think of it as like focus. And then this one here means to look after, as in like for someone who's sick, hence why it's used in words like kangoshi. Alright, nakunaru I guess is more of a phrase than a verb, but just note that if you use this one, it means like something goes away generically, like you lose something, such as whatever Mel Park was, or if your fan breaks. But while you can use this for people, such as in this post which laments the death of Ozzy Osbourne, rest in peace, strictly speaking, this variant is used when a person passes away. Alright, then ageru, to lift things up, has a few variants too. This is the common one that you can use for almost anything. If it goes up, vibes go up. It can also mean to post, as in this person here talking about what the difference between what they post on Instagram and Twitter. This one is used to raise something up to make it clear, such as an example. So I am using it now as I show you this example of somebody using this to say, show an example. But the same variant can also mean to like launch or to host. I'm not sure exactly how this happened, but something like shikyo ageru, to hold a ceremony, is very common. The final version here is then used to raise something up so it can be seen by everyone. A flag is very commonly used with this, although it can also mean, of course, to fry. Apparently, the etymology of this is that when you fried stuff in oil, it would float to the top, so you're like lifting it up, I guess. Believe it or not, whatever. The fact is, you can use this in terms like karaage. Sageru then means to lower. The down is the common one, such as in this post saying that they want the head of Sanseito to lower their head and apologize for claiming things about farming products being harmful. This variant, though, is specifically used when you like let something kind of hang. So not just lowering it, but kind of letting it go. It's often used with bags when you're holding them in your hand. But you can also, as in this example, like hang a camera from your neck. Interestingly, though, this is often used by musicians, etc., when they like take a new album or song on tour. I guess the idea that they're kind of holding it and walking around the country with it. All right, Yorokobu has a bunch: to be happy, to be joyful. This is the generic one, which someone is using because they met Chiton. This one is when your joy is loud or can be like seen by everyone. It's visible or audible, such as the joy of this flower in the rain, I guess. And this one is used when the joy causes you a sense of satisfaction, such as like you're eating this ramen. This one, though, is used when you celebrate somebody else, so like at a wedding ceremony, etc., or even just a holiday, as you can see here. Scowl just has two versions then, although the second is a bit hard to explain. This is the generic, use it when you use something, such as these rakuji, or kanji variants. This one then, a lot of people say different things about it. It's often used in like kyotsukao, when like the idea that you're using something emotionally, although people do use kyotsukao with the other one too. Although IME insists that you use this when use involves some kind of technical know-how or has rules behind it, such as like proper kana usage or proper language use. And you can see a technical one as in ningyotsukai, which is like somebody who knows how to operate dolls. Wakaru then has three uses. This is the generic one. If you understand something, go ahead and use this. This one means that you understand something like in a logical and mental manner. You can explain it. Hence its use in words like rikai, to understand. And this one is used when you understand the difference between two things, which I guess has some overlap, but it's why it's used in words like handan. I think this example sentence though is really good though, because it's like I understand the difference between the streams flowing in different ways. That said, something like Hannin o Wakaru is apparently quite common, and I guess the idea is you understand who the criminal is out of the other options. Although to me, the other options would work fine there too. And you can probably find people doing that. Wakareru then, on the other hand, means to split, and you can use the other Wakaru kanji, that's the generic one, but when two people split up, like in a relationship, you use this one. This is similar with Iku, because this is the generic one, but this one is used when somebody again passes, as in they go away, right? And you'll see this kanji in a number of words that also have to deal with people dying. In contrast, though, use this version of iku when you go to a destination, such as Yokohama, or when something passes through something, like a train here. This video is so long, I had to leave my office and do some stuff and come back, but I'm gonna finish it. No one's gonna watch it, I'm wasting my life. Okay, so tatsu. Tatsu means to stand up. This is the generic kanji for it. You can use it when anything stands up. Like if you're a member of Otoboki Beaver and you're standing in front of a crowd, then you can use that. If you know your kanji, you can probably guess that this one is used when a building stands. That's why it's in tatemono, right? So this building is standing in ichome, so that's why they're using that kanji. This variant, though, is a bit trickier to define. In theory, it also just means to stand up. It's like from okiru, right? To wake up, to stand up out of bed, I guess. But a lot of people define it as like to stand up in order to act, to do something. To stand up with intent. This website, for instance, lists projecto ni tatsu, to like stand up for a project, as a key example. And they're the only people in the history of the Japanese internet that have ever used that exact phrase. So don't trust everything you read online. However, in sentences like this where someone stands up to vote in despair for the nation, I guess, it makes sense, that kind of stand up to act. There are lots of like samurai standing up novels you can see that use this kanji. And while also not as pleasant, I should note that this is also used a lot when a part of your body stands up due to sexual stimulation. Sometimes they use this kanji instead, but that's like kind of a joke. It's not officially okay because that kanji is used in a noun meaning erection. But officially, according to the Choyo kanji list, the Japanese government does not approve this reading. It should not be able to be read as tatsu, but it is because, again, languages don't have rules. It's all made up. We're all just vibing and then yelling at the people who vibe in different ways than us. Three other tatsu then mean to separate, which is etymologically linked apparently, but whatever. This one is kind of generic or implies permanent cessation. So it's useful if you cut off contact with somebody, and inochi o tatsu using this means to kill somebody, to cut off their life, I guess. This one is then very similar, although guides say it implies that it is cutting off something that is continued for a long time, such as contact, renraku, right? Renraku o tatsu. But that's not to say there can't be overlap, like here's Renraku Otatsu in the other one, but something like Osake Otatsu is like to give up alcohol, being the idea that you've been drinking for a while, but now you're stopping. And then this one I had actually never seen before, but it exists, and it means to cut fabric, to separate fabric. Here we see Kiji Otatsu, that is to cut the cloth in a diagonal way for the tie. There are then two more tatsu though. This one means to depart, that's why it's in words like shupatsu, right? And then this one is used for the passage of time. Are these different words? Are they etymologically linked? Who knows? Someone online probably, not me. Let's go into the next word. Akeru means to open, and it's normally written like this. So anything you open can use this, like a window. This is then used when something ends or when like you move into a lighter period of time. So confusingly, if you use it for the morning is beginning, but if you use it with the night, it means the night is ending. But that's why it's used for, akarui as well. This one is then used when opening something up leaves it empty, such as in this picture where you leave a hole. Ana o akeru using this kanji is very, very common and sort of a prototypical example of how to use this. Shimeru, or to close, then matches akeru in having 3 kanji. I'm not going to include this one because I consider that like a totally different word, even if it does have an etymology that's the same. It means to like occupy. But again, here's the generic one for like just to close a shop, to close anything, which, has a little matching with the akeru one, which is fun. This is then used when you close something as in tightening it. So it's actually the verb for like putting on a necktie, but it appears in words like shimekiri or like deadline. So you're like, I guess, tightening the time. But there's a ton of uses for it, including pickling things for some reason. But something like this, himo wo shimeru, to tighten laces. In this case, it's metaphorical. To tighten the laces of your wallet means to not spend money. It is a pretty straightforward way that you're supposed to use this kanji. This one is then when you tighten like someone's throat because you strangle them. Kubio shimeru means to strangle. Torio shimeru is like to kill a chicken by strangling. And that's why this kanji is also used for the verb shiboru, which means to like, squeeze out. All right, I'm sure there's other verbs, but let's move on to some adjectives. Atatakai has 2 representations. This one is for climate or like weather or the temperature in a room. And this one is like the opposite of tsumetai in that it's hot to the touch, warm to the touch. But also though, when something is like metaphorically warm, like a comment, like something is heartfelt, it warms you up, then you use the hot to the touch one. It's emotionally touching you, right? This is another pair though that people like mix up a lot, as in, here this comment is a tatakai in the climate version, which I guess is wrong, but again, who cares? Atsui then mirrors the tatakai in having 2 versions. This is used for, again, weather, climate, temperature in a room, etc. And this again serves like an opposite of tsumetai, being hot to the touch, a physical sensation of heat. So like, in the post there, they're talking about coffee and tea. But again, and not to be a broken record, but just to stress this, people do flip these around all the time. On the left there, you can see somebody using the hot to the touch one for what's clearly temperature, and the other one you can see someone using the temperature one for something that is clearly hot to the touch. Oh well, it still means atsui, you can figure it out from context. This is not really the same, this means thick, so let's leave that one out of there. But apparently this kanji exists, I haven't seen it, and some people even say this is related to thick, not hot, but just in case, let's go over it. If you see this, this means either that something is severe, like an illness, or that something is done with kindness and consideration, such as this post here, which not only uses this atsui, but also the heartfelt omoi that we talked about earlier, so kind of linking that emotional and emotional, doubling up the implication via the 2 kanji. Katai, which means hard, then has 3 versions. This one is used for the opposite of soft or flexible, also mean inflexible both like really as in like your muscles are inflexible, or inflexible like in terms of opinions. It can also be used like when an atmosphere is uncomfortable because it's like stiff, or when things are very, very formal. Like if someone's word use or phrasing is katai, it uses this kanji. This one then means like kind of the opposite of fragile, but also like solid or sturdy or reliable. Kuchi ga katai, which is like doesn't tell secrets, is supposed to use this kanji. And there's a great pun here with like those whose mouths are hard, where like they're rocks, right? You get it, and they're stable. They're not fragile, but also the zipper. And then this one is used when something is like stuck in place. It's also in the verb kote suru, which is like to fix in place. That's why it's there. But think of it as firmly connected. So like this is used for meat. If the meat's tough, because like the muscles are connected, I guess. A handshake is supposed to use this one. Or something like a belief or even a refusal is supposed to use this kanji. In contrast, yowarakai, soft, flexible, just has 2. This is the generic one that you can use for most things that are soft. And then this one is kind of like a negative softness. It's using words like nanjaku, which mean weak. So if something is like mushy, such as this field here, it's a good kanji for that. Although, if it's good when something is mushy level soft, that's fine, such as like meat that you can just chew through like butter. Or a flexible body, you can use this kanji as well. Ayashi, that means suspicious or like shady, and this is the generic kanji you're going to use for about anything. If you can't trust something, if something's a bit weird, if something feels wrong, this is the kanji to go for. However, you can also use this kanji, which appears in yosei or like fairy, when something is like mysterious or bewitching. It appears in like fantasy, card games, etc., to give that like, ooh, it's sketchy, but in like a fantasy way kind of vibe. Kitanai is similar in that you have two. This is the generic. If something is dirty and you can clean it with like a rag, then that's what you want to use. Although it is used for like dirty language, etc. This one though is if something's like dirty in the soul, if it's like morally dirty or corrupt. If you can't clean it with a rag, but you need like a +5 rag, blessed by Palor or something, then you use this kanji instead. And just really quickly then, to give two examples of nouns, this ashi is used like for the generic leg or for your foot in the shoe, whereas this one is used when you specifically mean leg as in like from your butt to your ankle. And this specificity is similar with me versus me. This is the generic, like part of your face, everything, whereas if you're focusing on like the eyeball, nothing else, just that part there, you can switch to this one. Anyway, that was a long video. Hope it helped. And if you just realized that you forgot everything I said, check out my blog post. It's there. It's on the internet forever. And you can search it. You can Control F. If you're curious about a pair or set of kanji that I haven't covered here, pop it in the comments and I'll look it up or let you know. And I'll even add it to the blog post so it can be a living kind of thing, because the whole reason I did all this is there was no real good guide I could find in English, but now one exists. Well, it might not be good, but it exists. Enjoy. And thank you, one person who watched the entire video, for making it to the end. I am visually delighted by this, which means I Yorokobu with this kanji specifically.